Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Tiffany. It's my so-called fabulous, and y'all, it's that time of year. We are approaching the end of the year, which brings us to the beginning of the year. And there's resolutions, and you want to change things, and you want to eat better. You want to get back in the gym. And I love fitness. I just do. I love to work out, but that's not always the case with a lot of people. So I want to help you move into the next new year. And I have found the person to do it. And we brought this fabulous person back in the studio. So welcome from SciFit, Dr. Bryce. Welcome.
Hi, Tiffany. Thanks for having me back. I love having these conversations with you because for me, I'm super passionate about it, and hopefully we can find some things to help those out there that are looking for some direction.
You know, you and I were podcasting together. I think it was last year, and we talked about our passion. And I don't know, and you can tell us, and by the way, go back and listen, just look in your whatever platform that you listen to. With SciFit, Dr. Bryce and I did a podcast, and it explains his entire business, and we will hit that. But we explained that we're not necessarily the norm. And you, with your business, with SciFit, have probably... you're helping people that are possibly not the norm all the way. And we're not the norm is what I'm thinking. Or tell me if we're the norm, because we love fitness.
Right. And so to Tiffany's point, us not being normal is meaning that we love to eat healthy. We love to be active, love to exercise as part of our daily life. And for a lot of people, that's not, what they're used to. Maybe it's a struggle for them to eat properly. Maybe they struggle with overeating or overindulging or emotional eating. Or there's just people that have never been familiar with exercise, comfortable with exercise, or they just really dislike it. Maybe their body doesn't deal with it well, and it makes them not feel good, or it makes them really sore, or they just not motivated to do it. And I would say that's probably the norm, is people that don't have their food and activity level dialed in. And so to be abnormal would be those that eat healthy and exercise regularly.
That's true. And you know what? I think about the norm, and I love, I know I'm a little strange. I love when I'm sore. I love it because it's a muscle that I'm waking up, in my opinion. You're the expert, but I'm waking that muscle up, and I'm like, I thought everybody was awake in here, but I love that feeling. But to your point is people don't like to feel that way because, you know what I was going to ask you about? So when you see certain trainers, and I do want you to hit on your business briefly, but when you see certain trainers, or you go in the gym and you're really not sure what you're doing and you're sore beyond your wildest dreams. All right. That's not your goal, is it, with training?
No, absolutely not. So whenever we're talking resistance training, you're inducing what we call micro trauma to the muscles so that they rebuild stronger, more efficient, more tone, more volume within the muscle belly itself. But there's a range of how much trauma is adequate and how much trauma could be potentially overtraining. And it's a lot easier for people that haven't worked out in a while, or maybe aren't very familiar with how intense their workouts should be. They tend to overtrain, and that puts them in a state of soreness for several days, even up to a week at times. And that's not necessarily what we're going for. We do want to feel a slight level of discomfort and soreness after resistance training, because that means we've done it adequately enough to stimulate some improvement. But yeah, definitely to your point, I think there's a happy medium between how sore you should be.
Exactly. And obviously, if you haven't moved for years, you're going to feel it, right? I mean, and are there people that haven't moved for years and years?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
And even, well, when I say movement, of course, they're doing daily activities,
Sure.
Commuting, walking to the car, carrying groceries, getting out of a chair. But when you exercise, you're pushing your body to different angles and depths and using muscles that you don't typically use in daily activity. And not only are you doing it once, but several times within an exercise. So you're really, really tearing those body parts up that haven't been used to being utilized.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, absolutely. going from not doing much to doing things several repetitive times, it can lead to a lot of soreness.
So, Dr. Bryce, do this for us. For those of you that did not listen to the previous episode that you and I did, explain SciFit. Quickly just tell people what you offer in Fort Worth, Texas, what you offer.
Sure. So SciFit Center, we do basically a lifestyle consulting program that teaches people how to manage their weight, better their health, and just get the most out of life as it pertains to your nutrition approach, your exercise or activity level. And the biggest thing is that it's not a diet. We teach you how to budget food for fuel relative to food for fun. And just like with anything else in life, there has to be a balance. We balance our money, we balance our time, but as a society, we've really failed at balancing our food for fuel versus enjoyment. And so our program just teaches people how to do it in a very sustainable way. It has to be personalized and sustainable. Not everybody's the same. We have people that travel a lot or that entertain clients due to their job, or maybe they've got 3 kids they're running around all the time and that always have goldfish and gummy snacks around. There's a lot of different lifestyles for people. And so you have to meet them where they're at. And as we're talking about exercise, there's people that love to exercise. There's people that dislike exercise, or others that maybe just don't know how to do it or what to do. And so you have to meet the person where they're at in order to coach them into a lifestyle that's going to suit them best for their goals, whether it be aesthetic, weight, or health.
So is your approach, I know this, but tell everyone, one size fits all?
Absolutely not.
It drives me crazy when I see in a gym that I go to a gym and it's personal training, but when I go to a gym, if I'm traveling and I see the same thing, everybody's doing the same thing. We're not the same. Our fingerprints are different. Our DNA is different. So why isn't working out different, right?
Absolutely. It can't be the same. It's kind of like the best analogy I could give is back in school, obviously the curriculum I went through was rigorous and it was a long journey, but each of us had to learn what is our most effective way to study. Some people had to be isolated in a quiet room and they would just read the chapters over and over. Other people needed to be in a group setting, conversing with one another regarding the material. I, on the other hand, had to do a combination of all of them. I would read it, I would rewrite it in my own words, and then I would talk about it. So exercise, I think we should have a similar approach. What do I like to do is the main thing, because it doesn't matter what you do if it works, if you don't like it, because you're not going to continue to do it. So what works for you or what you like, and then from what you like, figure out how it can work for you. And there's always a way. You just have to manipulate different variables to make it suit, not only work well for you, but that you like it.
Exactly. And that one size does not fit all is fabulous because, like we said at the beginning of the show, we like to work out. I don't like to run. I just don't. I never have. I'm assuming I never will at my age. I don't like it. It's not that I dislike cardio, but I love lifting and I love lifting heavy and I love Pilates. So, but again, there's exercise for everyone, right? I mean, how do you coach someone on that?
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind with you saying that is, one, I'll agree with you. I don't like to run. I always joke and say only crazy people like to run. No, I have a lot of respect for runners. I think they have a level of discipline that is commendable. My rule of thumb is if I can get up and run a mile at the drop of a hat or do a 5K with a week's notice, I'm happy. But there's people that don't like any running at all. But what's cool about the body is the physiologic effect of running can be accomplished with no running at all. Pickleball is great. It's one of the new things that a lot of people are playing, and it gets into middle age and even senior age people can play pickleball. And if you were to compare the physiologic, aerobic, and cardiovascular demand that you can get from pickleball, it's pretty close to a low pace run. And so by enjoying an hour of pickleball with friends or your spouse or partner or whatever, you can achieve what you would have in a 30-minute run, which I think is really cool.
Absolutely. Because again, I really did. I just, oh my gosh, did a 3K, 5K, good Lord. And I hated it. I mean, I didn't like it. I'm just, and I feel, I feel my feet hurt and everything. So cardio, how important is cardio versus strength training versus stretching? Okay, those are the three, right? So how do you, because there's just so many days in a week, though.
That you're very right. And I think that's the $1 million question that the fitness society will always have a healthy argument about is what is more effective? What's more beneficial? Is it resistance training? And for those of you that don't know, resistance training means weightlifting. It can be bands. It can be body weight, anything that provides the muscle with resistance, relative to cardio. And cardio by definition is aerobic training, meaning that you're utilizing the cardiovascular system to accomplish a task, whether it be running, cycling, rowing. I don't want to be cliche and say the best answer is both, doing both. If you had to pick one or the other, I think that resistance training is going to have to be the winner. Not because I love to lift weights or I think muscles are cool or anything like that, but one, you're going to get a cardiovascular benefit from resistance training because you are putting a slight aerobic demand on the body. And you can actually intensify that by increasing your rep range, decreasing your rest time. And you could add something really simple between those resistance sets, like adding 20 or 30 jumping jacks to get the heart rate up and then resuming the resistance training. Cardio, and the way a lot of people approach it, whether you're walking on the treadmill for 30 minutes or going on a 2-mile jog, you're using a very small pool of muscles. So you're not using a lot of your full skeletal muscle. And a lot of times the intensity level isn't high enough to receive the benefit, at least on your return on investment, right? A 30-minute run is difficult, and the reward you get out of it just isn't much. Whereas weight training, you have a prolonged reward because the body takes longer to recover. It builds new muscle, which then burns more calories than you would have without that muscle. So it's more of an investment with weight training.
Right. And another thing is I do a bone density test. I think it's every other year now. And at 60, but I started back probably 45. And I'm proud to say, the doctor said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And I said, you know what it is? It is strength training. It is because I've done this resistance training since I was a teenager. You know what I mean? It's been that long. So keeping my bone density as a woman, and you lose bone density as you age, correct? So strength and resistance training, that helps, right?
Oh, tremendously. And that's the number one recommended thing so as we age, both male and female, we start to lose bone density primarily due to, we're on our feet less, we're doing more physical activities less, but particularly for women, the sex hormone changes that occur as women age drastically affect bone density. And one of the best things to do to help retain the density of our skeletal system is going to be weight-bearing exercise. And the reason I hesitated when I went to say that is when people hear the word weight-bearing, they assume it means you have to use weights. And that's not true. Weight-bearing just means you're putting some type of load on the long bones is what we're focused on. So the long bone of the thigh, the long bone of the arms. So doing like squats, body weight squats, or planks or push-ups, and all of these can be modified to meet your capability. So if you're overweight or if you're elderly and those movements are a little difficult, you could do other things like a sit to stand or a wall push-up, and that's sufficient for weight bearing. So it doesn't have to be going to the gym and lifting heavy things.
You know what? We talked about this before, and for years and years and years, I've had people say to me, oh my gosh, you lift. I post every morning my workouts because for me as an influencer, to influence people to have a healthy lifestyle. And people said, I don't want to lift weights because I'll get big. I'm not big. I'm just not big. And I'm just not. And that is such an odd thing to say, but it's what people think.
That is a very large misconception.
Can you believe? I mean, yes, you hear this.
Well, and nowadays with, as you mentioned, social media or an influencer, there's a lot of joking reels and memes. There's one that comes to mind where this gentleman he's a trainer, and he says that he's trying to get a female client to lift weights, and she says, well, I'm afraid to get too bulky.
Correct.
And he makes a joke and says, well, when you get in your car, are you afraid to turn into a NASCAR driver? And honestly, it's kind of the same. It takes a lot to get to the level of an elite, race car driver. Well, to build muscle, guys, I had a 10-year stint in bodybuilding where the objective was to become as big as you possibly could. And I'm talking an hour and a half in the gym, 6 to 7 days a week, eating the same meals every 2 hours. And guys, the heaviest I got was maybe about 15 pounds more than I am right now.
Sure.
Okay. And I do resistance training at least 3 to 4 days a week. And yeah, sure, I have a little bit more muscle composition than others, but that's because I had a decade of that being my sole goal.
Correct.
As a career, right? So to lift some weights is not going to turn you into the Hulk. Okay. We have to understand that. And you're a perfect example. You weight train multiple times a week and you have a great physique. You're not walking around. No one's looking at you saying, oh, she's too bulky. Right.
No, they haven't said that so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really is. It's something else. I mean, I want people to really get that in their head. And, yes, I have muscles. Yes, I do. And I did the same thing, the circuit that you did, with the, body, bikini and physique. And I never got large. I mean, I didn't want to, of course, but my trainer really focused in, and it wasn't, I'm a smaller upper body, larger legs. I couldn't fix that. That's just the way the Lord made me. But yeah, it's not going to happen. Okay. So people, and I know that people have excuses like, I don't have time. I like to work out whatever it is first thing in the morning. It gives me endorphins. It makes me feel good. It gets my day started. Some people like it at night. Some people like it at lunch. Does it matter when you work out?
So from a scientific or physiologic standpoint of whether or not you're getting more benefit from exercise relative to the time of day, it's so fractional that I don't think it matters. I think the most important thing is doing it when it's convenient enough for you to make it a habit. And for some people, that's waking up early before the kids are awake or before they have to be at work, before the phone starts going off. For me, I'm not a morning person. And as much as that would probably make my day a little easier if I were to work out early, I hate mornings. Yeah. And that's not going to be convenient for me. And so for me, I have a midday workout. So instead of a lunch break, I have a workout break. And that recharges me for the rest of the day. So to answer the question, in short, I think the most important thing is finding when is it convenient enough for you to make it a habit. And I always say more than half the week. So a 7-day week, 4 days is more than half, 3 days is less. So 4 days a week at a convenient time for you, I think is the most beneficial.
Right. Okay. Especially with you're busy now. And what are we in November, about to hit the holidays? There's a lot of entertaining going on, of course. The New Year's coming. How can you help the people that are listening to this show? How can you help them get started, get motivated? How can you do that?
You know what? You're right. And I'm happy to help. So right now is the fun time of year. We've got college football coming into playoffs. We've got NFL.
Texas Tech, excuse me.
Yeah, that's where I went. I gotta mention Texas Tech right now. So,
but when I saw you last, TC was doing pretty well, but not anymore. Anyway, carry on. I digress because I don't like it.
I know. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Anyways, so to my point is there's a lot of momentum in social and familial life right now. So a lot of whether it's football related or holiday related, people are getting together. There's a lot of things to look forward to. I just did my calendar yesterday and there's something coming up like every 3 or 4 days. And that's fun. It keeps you going. It keeps you happy, keeps you energized. January, everything hits the brakes. there's not really anything on the calendar to look forward to. It's quiet, it's dead, it gets dark early. You've got like the Super Bowl and Valentine's in February, and that's it.
That's it.
So people almost go into like a slight, I hate to use the word depression,
Sure.
but it's a little gloomy. There's not we just had this chunk of time where we have a lot of fun, and then now we don't have much, and there's not really, a lot to look forward to. And then you put this burden on yourself to do things that are difficult, like start working out and start eating healthy. That sounds punishment, right? It's like, all right, cool. Now no more fun. Sure. And I got to take away my fun food, quit drinking, whatever your New Year's resolution may be. And to me, that's setting yourself up for failure.
Mm-hmm.
You're setting the bar way too high at a time period that's already less motivating than the season we just came out of. I think the biggest piece of advice I can give is don't bite off more than you can chew. No pun intended on that. But, start small. You don't have to fix everything all on January 1st as a resolution. If you're wanting to eat better and be more active and maybe modify or not modify, but manage the amount of alcohol you're intaking or whatever your vice may be, do it gradually. Say, hey, I'm going to eat healthy Monday through Wednesday. And then I'll kind of eat what I want the rest of the days, and then turn it into a Monday through Thursday. And then before you know it, you're eating healthy Monday through Friday and just giving yourself the weekend to indulge. Start exercising twice a week.
Yeah.
And then 3-4 days a week. Don't do it all at once. And you don't have to quit drinking. Now, if you've got an alcohol problem, it's completely different.
Well, yeah.
But as far as you're indulging in alcohol, figure out how much you're drinking on average. You don't have to tell anyone how much it is, but figure it out.
Right.
And reduce it by 10 or 20%. And give yourself days that you're willing to allow cocktails and days that you're going to not. And then just gradually work on that. And eventually you'll find your balanced, happy medium. Okay, I can agree to eating healthy these days. I can agree to exercising these days. And I can agree to this amount of alcohol intake long term. And then that becomes your lifestyle, and your body will reward you. It will benefit from that, both from an aesthetic standpoint and from an internal health standpoint.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you have people that come to your gym because people ask me, or to your program, people ask me all the time, okay, is your trainer, I want to go, but is he going to make me stop drinking? What do you say to that? Because I'm sure we're a social city. We just are. What do you say to that?
I'm glad you asked that, because that is the biggest component of our program. And by the way, we're not a gym. We don't do any personal training. It's strictly lifestyle consulting, helping you find balance. But one of the biggest things that I think separates us is the other approaches are black and white, all or nothing. They tell you no more alcohol or no more carbs, or intermittent fasting is no more eating except for this time frame. There is no on-off, black or white with what I believe is the best approach. Okay, so I don't think discontinuing alcohol is sustainable. Now, like I said, completely different. If we're dealing with an alcohol problem, that's different. But if you're a social person that has cocktails, you don't have to stop doing that to better your health. Now, depending on how much you're drinking, maybe we need to tailor it down a little bit, but finding a reasonable amount that you think is a happy balance between, hey, I don't have to completely cut out alcohol, but I'm doing it less than I have been to complement or help this wellness journey that I'm on. And it needs to be something you can do long term. One of my favorite quotes is, never do anything to lose the weight that you're not willing to continue to do to keep the weight off. So people do things that are drastic to lose weight, and they want to regress and go back to their previous lifestyle, where you're going to go back to your previous body.
Yeah.
To do that. So,
in the program that you do, it has to be so rewarding for you, for people to come in and you evaluate them. I don't know how often you do that, and their body's changed. I mean, that aha moment, right?
Absolutely. So we meet on a weekly basis. We evaluate their progress every other week. So when we're meeting on that weekly basis, we're talking about how the week went, what things went well, what things they're still struggling with, and we give tips on how to overcome those obstacles. But to your point, Tiffany, it is so rewarding. And I've heard this several times, but it's the sentence of, I got to where I never thought was possible.
Oh.
Getting people that are telling you, I haven't weighed this since my wedding day, or I haven't weighed this since before kids, or my wife hasn't looked at me the way she does now. those things are so fulfilling because people are achieving things they thought were never in the cards for them anymore.
Yeah.
And that's big.
Yeah. I mean, because you can get it back, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you have someone in your program that, and we talked about this, we talk about Ozempic, we talked about all of that. But if you guide people through this, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But you can make huge changes, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, people think they can't sometimes.
I think it's because, like I mentioned a minute ago, they're biting off more than they can chew. They're setting the bar too high too quick, and it doesn't have to be that way. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's small accomplishments over time lead to results.
Right.
And the whole GLP-1 Ozempic, we could have a whole nother 10 vodcast series of that. So, but yeah, there's ways to make changes in your lifestyle with or without assistance from GLP-1s that will be sustainable as long as you create reasonable habits. The biggest problem is unreasonable habits, not sustainable. Doing things that you're only going to do temporarily is setting yourself up for failure.
Right. It took me several years to understand this statement. I understood the statement, but because I am a chef and I get it, but I didn't believe this. Abs are made in the kitchen. They are. I mean, I can work my abs just like I do. I do every day. I focus on my abs. But if I'm eating the wrong food for my body, I'm going to have bloating. I'm going to have, retain water. I'm going to do all these things. So how important do you emphasize nutrition?
Nutrition is 90 to 95% of your body's aesthetic. You cannot outwork a bad diet. You can't outrun your fork. Those are the funny sayings that people will say. But realistically, exercise should be used to complement. You cannot, and to that point, you cannot target fat loss. And so you see people, and I'm not poking fun by any means, but you do see people in the gym that have a large belly and they're over on the crunch machine because they don't understand that you cannot target loss to being in that area just because you're working that area. So abs are visible with a lower body fat percentage, and a lower body fat percentage is obtained by not overeating, so caloric management. And if you need to lose some weight, you got to put yourself at a caloric deficit, meaning you're eating less than your body's burning in order to reveal a lower body fat percentage, which then you can visibly see abdominal muscles. Mm-hmm. They're already there. You weren't born without them. You just can't see them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And so it's really important. Yes. You and I have seen each other socially. Yes. We indulge. We just do. But we get back on the horse, which is a lot of people thinking, oh my gosh, how do I even start? How do I start? I mean, how do people start that feel like right now, great, I've had a whole holiday season, a quarter, the fourth quarter. How do I even start?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'll probably reiterate this multiple times. It's the way you start is not doing too much all at once. Okay. So an example would be, let's say it's January and you're like, okay, I got to do better this year. And you go to the social event that has, food and alcohol. Maybe you choose one or the other. Hey, tonight I'm going to have what I want with the snacks. Or tonight I'm going to have cocktails, but I'm going to avoid the snacks. So you're already 50% better than you would have been because you probably would have done both.
For
right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So that's a start. For other people, it's like, hey, I'm going out on Friday and then I have a dinner event on Saturday. Pick one of them to indulge at, and the other one you choose something healthier, and maybe you have no cocktail or you just have less cocktails. So it's picking your battles. It doesn't have to be completely all or nothing.
Absolutely. Okay. So tell us how you have someone have a query. If they hear this podcast, they're interested in joining your team, your program. So what does this look like?
Yeah. So there's a few ways, for a lot with this type of commitment of, changing your life, essentially, people aren't ready to pull the trigger. So maybe they have more questions or concerns, or they want to know if we can help with specific circumstances they're under. Our website is going to give them options. Okay. So SciFitCenter.com. That's where you can, if you're ready, you can go ahead and book an initial consult. And that's where we'll sit down with you and have an in-depth conversation of where you're at, where you'd like to be. If you would like to have a conversation prior to committing to coming in, we have the opportunity for you to schedule a 10-minute phone call, and I will personally call you and talk to you about what you're dealing with and reassure you that, yes, this is something that we can help with.
Right.
And if you just want to follow us for fun, we're on Instagram, SciFit_center. We have a lot of fun, and you'll see on there that we walk the walk, we talk the talk at the, we like to have fun. We like to eat. We like to enjoy cocktails, and you'll see that on our Instagram, and we all have still maintained proper health and aesthetic.
You know what? I love, Dr. Bryce, that you're the real deal. I see, like I said, I see you socially in our city. I see you very involved with organizations, nonprofits, TCU, my school, but you're here as well in Fort Worth. And you do walk the walk, and your team as well. I've met several of your team members. So that makes a difference. And so people that are interested, I mean, you're the real deal for sure. I mean, you're walking the walk and talking the talk, and you can have alcohol if you want it too. So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming again. I mean, we could seriously talk about so many different things in a series, and I'm going to bother you again next year.
I hope
you
so.
come back for sure. So, okay, you've shared a little bit how we can find you, but your website again is
SciFitCenter.com.
SciFitCenter.com, and your Instagram will be in the show notes. And just thank you so much for coming. It means the world to me, helping our followers and our listeners and viewers and all the things get in a better spot and accomplish those goals and change your life or give you a little more energy. So everyone, thank you so much for following along. Watch us on YouTube. And I say this every Tuesday, keep being fabulous.